Hello! This tutorial will cover where to find and how to fill out the MyDRC Initial Access form. Now, as the name might suggest, this is a form you need to fill out only if you are a new student to the Disability Resource Center. If you already receive services from the DRC, then this is not the form you're looking for. There are several places you can locate the Initial Access form. The simplest of these is to enter the URL directly into your browser. That address is https://cascade.accessiblelearning.com/Bellevue College/application student.aspx. A link to the form can also be found in the following locations. First, on the DRC's homepage, under the My DRC and Other Forms heading on the right side of the page. That's right here. Just click on the link here that reads My DRC Initial Access Form. That link. Second, the form can also be found on the Getting Started page under Step 3, Submit DRC Initial Access Form. So if we scroll down, that's right here. Third, the form can also be found on the Forms page listed underneath the Initial Access Form heading. Once you've located and clicked on a link for the form or entered the URL into your browser, you'll be taken to the page for the Initial Access Form, which should have the title Online Student Application at the top. Below the title, the page tells you that there are 2 easy steps to register. Step 1, fill in application. Step 2, submit documentation. Following these instructions, there are a few more notices related to the forms that I'll quickly read through. It reads, use this if you are a new student to the Disability Resource Center. Be sure to review our Getting Started page, http://www.bellevuecollege.edu/drc/getting-started/ before filling out this form. The application asks some questions about affiliations and how you identify with regards to race or ethnicity, sexual orientation, etc. Affiliations are asked for so we know what resources you are already using and what we may be able to refer you to additionally. Identity-based questions are asked because we believe that students with disabilities are an integral part of diversity. Unfortunately, this population is often not included in diversity research and reports on student success, and we want to do our part to change that. The information you provide will help us better understand our students and improve both DRC and other BC student services. We understand that some of this information is asked on the BC application. That information is not shared with us, and that's why we ask some repeat information. This information is confidential and will only be used in anonymous data analysis. If you have any concerns or questions about this, ask us. All in all, it's a fairly standard application form, but there are a number of questions to get through. This tutorial will break the form down into several sections and explain how to fill out each one. So let's get started. This first section is asking for your personal information. Again, pretty standard stuff. I wanted to take a moment to note this asterisk here next to the first field, the start term. That asterisk means that it's a required field, so you need to fill it out or the form won't be accepted, and that's true anywhere you see it on the form. For start term, use the drop-down menu to select the quarter you want to start receiving services from the DRC. This is likely either the current quarter or the next upcoming quarter. Please note that this is not necessarily the same as the quarter you started or will start attending Bellevue College, though it may be. For expected graduation term, use the drop-down menu to select the quarter you plan on graduating from Bellevue College. If you don't yet know this information, you can enter your best estimate or just leave this field blank. First name is another required field, so be sure to type your legal first name, that's the one on your birth certificate or driver's license, into the box provided. Last name is also required, so type that into that box. Middle name is optional, but you may enter it if you want. If you have a name other than your legal first name that you'd like to be addressed by, you can type it into the box provided for preferred name. Your student ID is the 9-digit ID number that was assigned to you when you were accepted to Bellevue College. If you don't know what your student ID number is, or you haven't yet received one, you can leave this field blank. Otherwise, go ahead and type it into the box provided. For birth date, enter your birthday in the provided field in month, day, year format. Be sure to enter 2 digits each for month and day and 4 digits for the year, just as in the example provided here. For gender, select one of the options from the drop-down menu. While this is technically a required field, you can select Not Specified if you prefer not to answer. Contact information is the next section of the initial access form. The first 2 fields in this section are cell phone number and landline phone number. While neither field is required, it would be best if you could enter at least one primary contact number where we can reach you into one of these 2 fields, here or here. Be sure to enter a 10-digit phone number with no punctuation or spaces into the text box or boxes provided. Email address is a required field. It's incredibly important to note that school policy requires all official email be sent specifically to a BC email address. If you don't yet have a Bellevue College email, you may enter a personal email address instead, and the DRC will use this address until you do. The sections for local and permanent address follow contact information. Local address is for where you are currently living while you are attending Bellevue College. Unless you're an international student, your permanent address will likely be the same as your local address. Note that all fields for local address are required. For address, type in your street address, including an apartment number if needed. Type the city into the box provided, and then select your state, likely Washington, from the drop-down menu. Then enter your 5-digit zip code. If you do not have an additional permanent address to enter, click on the checkbox next to the words Same as Local Address in the section heading. If you do have an additional address to enter, follow the same steps as with local address. If your permanent address is located outside of the United States, be sure to select International from the bottom of the drop-down menu for state. That can be found here. The section titled Additional Information makes up a fairly large section of the form, so this tutorial will cover it in a few smaller parts. First up is disability information. Your primary disability is a required field that you should select from the drop-down menu. The instructions below the menu state that you should select what most accurately represents your disability. Your primary disability is the main one you'll be receiving accommodations for. Any other disabilities you have can be listed under the secondary disability or other disability sections that follow. When selecting an option from the primary disability menu, be sure to select an individual disability, that's one of these, and not one of the group headings, one of these, as the system will reject your application if a group is selected. For the secondary disability section, select the checkbox next to any other disabilities from the list that apply to you. As a side note to clear up any confusion, the letters listed next to each option are merely there for coding purposes for the DRC, so you don't need to worry about them. Fill out the Other Disability or Note field if you have a disability that's not listed above, or if you're unsure which category your disability falls into. This space can also be used to provide additional or more specific information about any of the disabilities you've selected above. Just be aware of the 99-character limit in the text box. Next up is information about your degree and major. These 2 fields are next in the Additional Information section. For seeking degree, if you know the type of degree that you are or will be pursuing at Bellevue College, select it from the drop-down menu. Then, if you know the name of your major or program, select it from that drop-down menu. Other information the Additional Information section asks for is your affiliation. If you receive services or funding from any of the programs listed in that field, select the checkbox next to them. As mentioned at the beginning of the form, we need this information so we know what resources you are already using. Your ethnicity is optional demographic information. If you wish to provide it, just select the checkbox next to any ethnicities that apply to you. Last in the Additional Information section is an additional note text box where you can share any further information you might feel beneficial to your application. A list of questions make up the last section of the initial access form. The questions in this section will prompt you for some additional information that the DRC would like to have included in your file. Questions 1 through 10 are not required, but it is highly recommended that you answer them. Questions 11 through 14 are completely optional demographic information. Answering these questions helps us better assist you. Note that most questions in this section also include an additional field where you can include any notes or explanations needed for your answer. Number 1. Emergency contact name and relationship to student. Please enter the first and last name of a person who can be contacted on your behalf in case of emergency and include a brief example of how they are related to you. For example, parent, friend, spouse, or relative would all be good answers. Number 2. Emergency contact phone number. Enter a phone number where the person listed in question 1 can easily be reached. Number 3. What barriers and difficulties have you experienced in school relating to disability? In response to this question, discuss how your disability or disabilities has impacted your schooling and what barriers you may have encountered from the school system in the past. This helps us to tailor accommodations specifically to you and your individual academic needs. If you had an IEP or 504 plan at any point during grades K through 12, this is a good place to mention it. Number 4. What is the highest level of education you have completed? Select one of the options from the list provided by selecting the checkbox next to it. Number 5. First quarter you were or will be enrolled at Bellevue College. Type the quarter, fall, winter, spring, or summer, and the year, into the text box provided. Remember that this is not necessarily the same as the quarter you want to start services at the DRC. Number 6. Have you applied for admission to Bellevue College? Select yes or no, and add an additional explanation in the text box provided, if needed. Number 7. Have you taken the Bellevue College English Compass Assessment? Select yes or no, and add an additional explanation in the provided text box, if needed. Number 8. Have you taken the Bellevue College Math Compass Assessment? Again, select yes or no, and add an additional explanation in the provided text box, if needed. Number 9. Is English your primary language? Select yes or no. If you select no, please enter your primary language into the text box provided here. Number 10. Do you want to learn more about any of the following? Select the checkbox next to any topics that you'd like to receive more information about. If there's any information that you'd like that you don't see listed, feel free to enter it into the text box. Number 11. Optional information, sexual orientation. If you would like to provide this information, select the checkbox next to your orientation. If you don't see it listed, click the checkbox next to Other and specify in the text box provided. Number 12. Military service during. If you have served in the military and would like to provide this information, select the checkbox next to any of the decades listed that you served during. Number 13. Religion or spirituality. If you would like to provide this information, select the checkbox next to any options that apply to you, or select Other and specify in the text box provided. Number 14. My annual income is. If you would like to provide this information, select the checkbox next to your income bracket. Once you've finished answering the last question, take a moment to review the entire form to ensure that you've completed it fully and entered everything correctly. When you're done, simply click the button labeled Submit Application at the bottom of the page. That's here. And your initial access form will be submitted to the DRC system to be processed. Be sure to check whichever email you entered into the form, ideally your Bellevue College email address, for confirmation and further instructions. Thanks for watching.